What's up,
What's
guys?
good?
We just finished watching or the Crawdads sing. Um, we're just gonna say
Oh
it now.
man,
It's definitely both of our least favorite movie of 2022.
by
I
far, this
did
is the
not
worst movie.
have any expectations for this movie, but I had some, but it did not deliver. We're gonna go through our different talking points and our negatives and positives. I guess we can start with the positives just to start off on a light note. Again, you can just interject whenever you want, but
Look, I'm just gonna go with my positives first because
yeah.
I really don't have that many. It's literally only two. So, by the tone of my voice, you could already tell this is not an enjoyable movie experience for myself and JC. JC just said it to me. This is the worst movie of the year for me. This is by far the worst. I had gave a rating system of I gave it a rating of everywhere all at once a 3 out of 10, and is okay. I'm just gonna say that I thought that was the worst movie, and I walked out of that movie. I thought to me that was my worst experience so far. This one by far was a drag. Only positive I'll give it to is that the cinematography, the way they shot this movie. I will say that I love the nature aspect of what the
It was pretty.
directors. Yeah, it was a really pretty movie to watch. Um, the whole nature of the swamp and the trees and the dream sequence esque like scenes that they had. I really enjoyed that, and only two actors that I really enjoyed the way that they delivered. Oh, or three. The main character, Tate. Oh, what was his name again? Tate, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
to
Tate. And the little girl.
the younger version
Yeah,
of it.
Kaya's younger version of herself. That's it.
Yeah, and for me, my positives is what he mentioned, but also the shop owners. I don't remember their names, but they're just so sweet, so welcoming. You can tell that they're besides Tate. I guess they're the only like people who actually cared about her. I guess now we'll get into the. We'll start with the negatives, and then we'll go on the talking points because there are a lot of talking points
Yeah.
we'll get to. So the first major negative, this is one that I wrote down during the movie. It just stuck out to me. There's a point in the movie where they're in the court trial over the murder of Chase, and there's a witness talking about how he heard Kaya is her name, right?
Yeah,
Kaya,
Kaya. Yeah.
telling Chase, threatening him that she'll kill him if he ever comes towards her again. But I didn't understand why he didn't hear her screaming when he was trying to rape her. She was screaming really loud, and then she gets up and walks a few feet away, and then threatens him. But he hears that clear, but he wasn't startled at all by the screaming. And another part negative that I just didn't like was Chase's line delivery. I didn't believe a single line that guy said. We'll get more into that in the talking points, but just as soon as he came on camera, I'm like, this guy's a piece of crap. Like, he's just a garbage human being. Just was not, did not enjoy any second of him being on screen. Um, but I mean, do you have anything to add to
No,
that? To
yeah,
the
like
talk
it's
negatives?
funny. Like we definitely agreed on that. We said it literally right. Oh, by the way, the theater was completely empty. So those people saying this movie is a masterpiece,
It was just us two.
it was only us two out of how many seats? Like 80 seats. There was only the two of us. So I literally, me and JC were talking how we were like, man, this guy is just not believable. Like we understand that the movie. The way that they wanted this actor to portray his character was that he was a douche, which was obvious from the first
Yeah.
line that he delivered to Kaya. But I felt like, man, the delivery was just trash. Like, this
It sounds
actor,
like he was reading off lines. Like his
yes,
tone was so dead. Like he just wasn't believable.
and even like in the like toward the end of the movie when they're trying to show you that like he actually had like feelings for Kaya, you never felt that way. You never any sense. And even though yes, he was a douche and he wanted her for obviously for sexual reasons, but there was never a time where you felt like, oh damn, this guy actually does have feelings for this girl.
Yeah, I felt like it would have been way more compelling and interesting if he was a more dynamic character. Maybe he was
Yep.
as charming as Nate, but there were hints that he had other intentions. But
From the
it was
beginning.
harder to uncover. But it's just seemed that Kaya was just so blind that she just didn't notice it, and it's something where I feel like she was just so alone and she was just tired of being lonely that she just ignored that. But I guess we'll get into the movie now. So essentially, how it starts off is you see them find Chase's body dead in the forest or in the marsh, and then Kaya's arrested because she's like fleeing, and the police are trying to get her. And from there, it talks about her childhood, her family, things like that. And then, her on trial. And it just talks about her upbringing. So a few of the talking points we have is about the family. First, it shows the mom leave, and then her sisters leave, and her brother leave. I don't understand why the mom just didn't take her. That would have been so easy to just pick her up and leave.
Oh, and guys, by the way, I'm sorry to interject. We just want to let you know we never read the book. So if
Yeah.
you guys are saying, "Oh, it's because you guys didn't read the book and that's what was in the book," look, we haven't read the book and we don't care. Like we're
Yeah.
So
I mean, we're good. After this, we're gonna read all 300 pages here. So don't worry about that. But yeah, it was so random how the mom leaves, and I was like, oh, like if she didn't love them, maybe love her kids, but she did. You could tell she cared about them, but she just leaves, and you could tell she's just like, I guess, tired of the abuse, and she just is emotionless, and she walks away. The sisters leave, and I know
Then the
that
brother leaves.
I know they try to convince Kaya to come, but the fact that they just leave her with the abusive dad, and she, for whatever reason, she wanted to stay. I guess she was the most attached to the marsh, but I just found that so unbelievable, and the fact that they never come back to visit her. Once the dad leaves, they don't find out, and they don't come back to try and like visit her or bring her supplies or bring her with them. That was just, it seemed so like unrealistic, and I know it's fiction, but I just thought to myself, what kind of family that is that tight knit would do that?
yeah. And then when the brother does return, because he does eventually return, is once she's successful as a book writer or whatever. Like I don't know, it's just not believable.
Yeah, and I so there's a scene where you see that she's walking around her house and she sees like social services going to the store, trying to find out what's going on, like is she living alone, so she was a minor. And you see that there are developers taking pictures of her house because they want to drain the swamp, and they want to like build hotels and stuff like that. And that scene basically had no purpose. It was just to motivate her to get start sending her pictures to publishers to try to get a book made out of it, to get money to pay the tax, because they never asked to buy her house, they never drained the swamp, they never built anything. The marsh just stays as it is, so they kind of mention that and forget about it, just I guess to motivate her to try to get money in. Another point is, why did Tate, I keep saying Nate, but why did Tate wait, I think it's like 4 to 6 years to come back? I know he mentioned that he was scared, that he didn't think she'd be able to leave the marsh, but not even a letter, like not even a visit. He just avoided her completely, even though he was completely infatuated by her. Like if that was true love, like he would have come back and not
Yeah.
waited until he's at a career. And the way they write him, I know the author wasn't a male, obviously it was a woman author, and the way they write him, he was just way too pure, way too sweet. He teaches her how to read read English
books,
and,
yeah.
and write, and they just see him as so pure, and then he's a piece of crap for not coming back. But once he comes back, he tries to do everything to redeem himself, and it just didn't make sense why he just never came back.
And mind you, he conveniently comes back into her life at the point when what's the guy's name again? The
Chase, when
he starts to abuse her, like when
Yeah.
he starts to get physically abusive with her, and
Yeah, and then like another point
it
is,
just wasn't believable.
Chase and Tate are like polar opposites almost, because Tate, besides the fact of him leaving, I guess that's his only flaw. He's just way too pure, way too friendly, way too clean. Like men, for the most part, aren't like that. I'm sure there are some exceptions, but they could have made his character just so much more interesting. Just make him maybe a bit more, I don't want to say flawed, but just more human, more realistic. And that's why it seemed so random when he left, because he didn't come back for years. If he maybe waited a year or like 6 months, I'd understand, but it just wasn't in his character. And on the other hand, Chase is like a freaking Marvel villain. Like he's like Zemo.
real.
He just was so messed up, so corrupt. He didn't care about Kaya at all. You could tell he wasn't being genuine at any point, and he was just so like frat douche guy.
He's the ultimate
Just-
Chad, bro.
Yeah, and I did not like him at all. So it was like polar opposites, which I'm sure there's a meaning for that. But every time that Chase was in the scene, I wanted to punch him in the face, even from the beginning. And I guess there's a case to be made of why Kaya like accepted the date to go on a picnic because she was tired of being alone, and she said that she finally was opening up again. But the fact that she accepted his advances, and like even when he tried to like procreate with her on their first date, and she forgave him after that, that should have just like been a red flag. But I didn't really understand why she even kept dating him, and it just seemed so out of character for her based on everything. But I mean,
And
what do
yeah,
you
no,
say about
and it
that?
was just so like you saw it coming 100 miles away that obviously this guy was gonna be that dude that he had a girlfriend on the side and then he was using her. And it just wasn't believable in that scene when again the spoilers or whatever. When finally she goes to town and she's actually able to see that indeed Chase had a fiance now,
Yeah,
not a
the whole
girlfriend,
time
a
she was
fiance.
engaged.
Yeah, and it just wasn't believable. And then how now his heart was turned to like try to go after her and try to have her back into his life. It just none of the motives were there. It just wasn't believable. Like especially emotionally, I just didn't feel it. Like coming from
Yeah.
the actor, like I'm like I'm not convinced me that you actually want her. Like
Yeah, you can tell he just wanted like multiple women, like side women, side pieces, whatever you want to call
yeah,
it. But it just wasn't genuine at all. What he was portraying, and the way the movie starts is, earlier in the beginning you see the trial going on, and they're kind of showing flashbacks, and the movie starts with the death. I'm not sure if that's how the book is, but I feel like we would have been maybe a bit more interested if we see how Tate leaves, she meets Chase. You see how big of a piece of crap he is and everything, and then they show that they find his body, because we'd be like, oh snap, he died, like
yeah.
he had it coming. But when they showed him that in the beginning, I was like, who is that? And then when we meet Tate, I'm like, oh, that's the guy who dies. Oh no, it's a different guy. Chase is the one who dies. But I mean, I'm sure they want us guessing, but I wish it could have been in the middle. But they wanted to do that thing where they're in the trial and they're showing flashbacks, and that's how they advance the plot of the movie. But based on the trailer and based on what we saw beforehand, I thought there was a huge conspiracy of his death. I thought there was something more mystical or something with like the town, because that's how they make it seem that there was something else beneath the surface of what caused his death. But when you find out what it was, which we'll say for the end of the video, it's so dumb because I thought there was something like much bigger.
Yeah, the payoff
And
was not good. It was not a good payoff at the end.
yeah, and I didn't really understand the purpose of the trial, because for the most part of the movie, ultimately it just brings her and Tate back together. But besides that, her books still would have been published. Her house was not in jeopardy. I mean, I don't think she got any money from the family unless they just didn't disclose that. But the trial just seemed very, at least in the beginning, it just seemed like it didn't have much of a purpose. And bring it back to the social services, like they never found her. That whole scene, I was like, oh man, she's gonna get taken to a group home. I was convinced that she was gonna have to give up her house or sell it, but not that never happens. It was literally just to get her pictures published and sign with those publishers. And let's see here, I'm just reading the other notes that I have. Again, I just expected way more investigation into his death.
Yeah.
I thought they were gonna I thought at one point Tate was the one who killed him. I thought there was just gonna be other stuff going on in the town. But ultimately, we'll get into the ending right now because I covered all the points. After Tate and Kaya get married because they don't get married legally, or by court, I should say. She passes away on a boat like a chump. And then Tate is reading books and he finds the necklace that she had made for Chase, and basically a poem confessing that she killed Chase. Which when we saw the movie at the end, I think we were just we didn't hear, or Martin noticed more, but I wasn't sure why he was so upset reading the poem, because I didn't hear. I don't know. I guess I wasn't distracted, but I think just the volume wasn't
Like high enough, yeah.
yeah. I just didn't understand, and then I had to read up on what happens, but. She kills him, and I didn't feel, any remorse. He was trying to rape her several times. He was like pretty bad guy, but she's the one who killed him, and it was definitely a shock because based on how she's raised, you see that she didn't have any aggression in her except when she threw the rocks at Tate. She was very calm, very mild mannered, but I guess she just got to the point where she was so tired of Chase attacking her and chasing her that she wanted to kill him. But during the trial, you see how the timeline, she had a solid alibi. She was in a different city in Greenville, I believe, in a hotel meeting with publishers, so there was no time for her to have killed him, but she did. So the one, like the lawyer is saying, "Oh, do you expect us to believe that she went on a bus at night to back to the marsh and led chicks up to the tower and pushed them off, and then got back on the bus back to Greenville and carried on like nothing happened?" And essentially, I believe that's what happens because she killed him when she was in Greenville, and publishers were able to attest for that. So I guess she wasn't phased by it at all. I want to know how I guess she led him up there, making it seem like she was going to forgive him, and then she pushes him off. But that was just like, it didn't change it for me. I still read it about the same. I was still really like disappointed with the movie. It just, I don't know. I didn't have any expectations, but
Yeah, I didn't have any expectations either. The only reason why I even like brought up or had agreed as well to like watch it, with JC today was because, like, I was like, you know what, I want us to expand our horizons, expand like our like taste in movies, and this movie just didn't deliver at all. And you can tell this movie they were going for this whole crime drama / crime suspense type of vibe with romance mixed in, and just none of it was believable. And I understand we're guys, and maybe this was more like a chick flick because that's what it was. It was just a straight up chick flick, like straight up.
Yeah.
Not being biased, not being, I'm trying to be too critical of the movie. It's just that there was nothing about the movie that I believed. Like the romance with Tay, it just didn't, to me was not believable. Like you could tell like they tried to use the guy's charm and his sweetness to like try to get you in, like, into the relationship, but I just never felt like it was truly genuine, and I never felt that invested. And I just felt like they failed on the whole crime drama aspect every time they took us to the courtroom scenes. Like, none of it. Like, a lot of times, especially when they were, like, trying to bring up, like, the evidence and, like, I'm more of a guy that, show me, don't tell me. Like,
Yeah.
I think they could have benefited the movie better if they would have actually shown some scenes of, like, the police actually doing some crime investigation, actually showing us, like, what they found and the body, it just...
Yeah, they just showed like the fabric from his beanie, and they basically just suspect that like, oh, it got in her house because it was on his clothes, and they're like, okay. But at the end, when she basically confesses to the Paul after she died that she killed him, it would have been nice if they showed a flashback of her doing it or something, because they hyped up the trial so much, but it was hard to be interested in it because you see his body there, but you don't see how he dies, and I feel like it wasn't investigated enough. They basically just say like, do you really think she killed him? Why would she kill him? She was in Greenville talking with publishers, and they basically accept that. And it did seem like she didn't do it, but she did. And I guess she was a really good like actor in the movie because she didn't show like any resentment or guilt, or like she wasn't nervous at any point. But I wish they would have done that differently because I do love crime and like murder mysteries.
Same.
So I wish that was more fleshed out, but it just talked more about, I guess, her as a character and her.
Yeah, they did way more like try to make you feel bad for her, which was like, and I kept telling JC, I'm like, yo, they're making this girl way too much of a sympathetic character, which I guess is the whole point of you like getting duped at the end. But
yeah, so overall, at a rating out of 10, I'm feeling like a 3 on this, a 3 out of 10.
Out of 10, not 5.
Out of 10. Yeah, we were watching a review before this, and this guy was hyping it up, and he's like, yeah, I give this movie a 4.5. We're like, out of 10? He's like, out of 5.
I was like,
oh, no. I mean, you guys are entitled to your own opinions.
Yeah.
Maybe we're just not seeing the beauty in it. I know it's very divisive. The critic reviews and audience could not be more different, but this just did not do it for us. So I gave it a 3 out of 10.
I gave it a 2 out of 10 straight up. Like I told you guys in the beginning, the only credit I give this movie of what I actually liked about it was the scenery, the cinematography, and some of the actors, because not every actor delivered. So, and honestly, the acting overall, I wouldn't say it was great. It was just good, good to average, in my opinion. Yeah, straight up solid 2 out of 10. But yeah, that's what that was.
But yeah, guys, we hope...
We hope we didn't trigger you guys too much, but if we did, receive it.
Pretty sure this is the only negative review on YouTube right now of the movie. Everyone else seems to just hype it up. I don't see how, but
Yeah,
we hope you guys enjoyed it. We hope we didn't ramble too much, but I'm sure we did. So thanks for watching.
It's been the
Stay in
world's
school.
tallest midgets.
World's tallest midgets. Eat your vegetables. Stay in school. Adios.